the things matter only when you are in an informal setting. Then we are to take care of all these things. Then these things matter a lot.
Okay, let me ask you this. I agree with what you're saying. It doesn't matter in an informal setting. Where does it make a difference in a formal setting? Can you tell me that?
Conversations. I started my topic with bringing in mind these kinds of conversations that they were a number of times. Once the session is over, I wind up the session. But after the end of the session, I realize what is the fun of having that long career? Because otherwise, there are a number of settings we can bring on the table, but every setting has a different kind of requirement.
You don't use these words with them because it will just make them feel inferior and you don't want to be that person. You don't want to sort of make them feel like, yeah, I'm better than you or something. Hello, good afternoon.
Very good afternoon. How are you doing? How has your day been treating you?
My day has been a little bit hectic, but it has been fun.
Hmm, that's great. Fun in what sense?
Fun in the sense that I got a couple of um like I got some good news basically. Like my friend, a really close friend of mine who lives in my building, I mean his wife just delivered a baby, so that was nice. A healthy boy.
And you talked a similar way in some other video of yours with someone else. I had been through that session also. In that video also, you gave some this kind of reply when something was asked from the person that, okay, you got some good news today. And then you started giving the explanation also. It's not
Yeah,
that good news you are thinking about.
yeah. This happened recently, right?
Yeah, in the very, yeah, recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, this is different.
This is
Uh,
different.
yeah, this is different. Yes. So another thing was that a really close friend of mine, I mean, through arranged marriage, he's found some girl. So he's gonna announce in a day or two. So that's fun.
Mm. Your marriage was arranged marriage or it was a love marriage?
It was arranged marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
You believe in traditions also. You had your Diwali, you celebrated your Diwali in a very traditional manner as well.
Um, I don't have a problem with traditional beliefs or anything of that sort, as long as I don't think it's a waste of time or we're doing it for the sake of doing it. Okay. So with arranged marriage as well, I was just exploring because my parents were like, no, you should start talking to people, you should start getting to know what the expectations are around the world, right? Because I mean, whoever starts talking to people when they're planning arranged marriage, they don't really have any clues on how to sort of tackle the issues or what conversations you should be having, uncomfortable conversations you should be having with a potential partner, right? So I was like, yeah, sure, it'll be a good experience. Let me go just go talk to people. And then I just happened to meet my future wife. And I was like, yeah, this makes sense, you know? So a lot of things lined up. There were a lot of green flags. And even though I wasn't really keen on arranged marriage, because, marrying a stranger feels a little, I don't
Mm.
know, it's not my cup of tea, but um, I saw a lot of things that I really liked. And I spoke to her, and we had similar visions, and it just worked out.
That's great. Yeah, good to know about it. So let's move forward now.
Definitely, yeah. What would you like to talk about today?
I have simply one topic in my mind.
Hmm.
Like, what are the qualities of a good speaker? I just want to elaborate it a little more. Like, we used to have these kinds of conversations. I do talk to the tutors on different platforms and with the people at random.
Hmm.
And a number of times after the session is over, then I start regretting what did I do? Like, I don't have the art how to begin the conversation and how to wind up the session. And a number of times, uh, what kind of questions I must put forth, like in what direction the conversation should go. So
Hmm.
I have been through your shorts recently, and I got to know, like, in one, I can give just quote you one example, and that fits on me because I am the person who always over explains. Maybe that I'm short of words. That's why I keep on elaborating. And this thing
Mm.
happened in our previous conversation as well, or either the earlier one also. That is,
Yeah.
always try to convey your message in a very short, crispy manner,
Yeah.
like in few words. So why not to talk about the art of speaking or art, the qualities of being a good speaker?
Yeah. So one thing I've noticed over a couple of years is that in India, there are a lot of people who've been brought up in a way that they need to either behave a certain way or treat people in a certain manner, right? So what happens is they have this inbuilt program that they have to be a people pleaser, or they have to make sure that nobody dislikes them, right? I have a lot of friends who do that. I used to do that. But what happens is every time you do something, the first thing that you do is you get defensive about what you did. You feel the need to explain yourself so nobody misunderstands you, nobody assumes the worst about you when you do something, right? I'll give an example. If you are at a lunch or a dinner with your friends, okay, and there's four of you and there's five brownies, okay, and like tiny pieces, not even like a proper brownie, okay. So which, like, think about this here for yourself. Which one of your friends would reach for that fifth brownie after everyone gets one, and then there's one extra? So which one of it would do? Which one of them would sort of reach for that? And I know for a fact it's not going to be you. You are going to be the one saying, "Hey, does anyone want the extra brownie?" Right?
Hmm.
So this is what happens. I used to be this person, and not that I'm saying I would reach for the brownie now, but I used to be this person where I'm like, "Hey, let me supply, uh, let me ask them if it would, make them happier that I'm offering or something." So first, keep it short and crisp. Okay. Second is don't explain from a place of clarification or, hey, I want them to know what I was thinking exactly so that they don't dislike me. Just do things because you want to do them. Okay. If somebody wants to dislike you, they'll dislike you for anything. They can dislike you because your hair is black, or they don't like the color of your glasses or whatever. If they want to dislike you, they'll dislike you, you know. So again, I may be speculating, but please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think these two things are initially something that people need to work on, because these things create the personality of how you talk and why you talk. Okay. Confident, extroverted people, they don't sit and explain their decisions. They'll say, hey, let's do this. And then they'll wait for other people to say yes or no. Right. Whereas what we used to do, I mean, I used to do this as well. I used to say, hey, let's do this because we can have fun, because we can do this, because we can do that. Right. No, it doesn't matter. You explaining doesn't change people's decision. Right. If they want to do it, they'll do it. If they don't want to do it, they won't do it. You can't force anybody to do anything. Right. So,
Sorry to interrupt you. Because, like, if you gave your example, you and your friends. So, when we talk about the people who around us, like they are people like us. And I think to some extent, we all are conditioned in the similar way
mhm.
until or unless someone jumps from some other word in your company. Okay. So, if we are conditioned in the same way, and I feel that I need to justify myself, I may not be, it may not be justification at my end, like pleasing the people around me, like offering the fifth brownie to someone else not eating up. I think similar kind of temperament would be, at least if we are four, three of them would be having the, might have been conditioned in the similar way, isn't
Mhm.
it?
Yeah.
Then then how to make it out? Like if we all are conditioned in the similar way, then do you think people they are going to mind it? But at the same time, in the modern context, like it is always advised that always be crisp when you talk to someone. What I want to convey is if somebody like out of these four, you try to be very crispy and only coming to the point, don't you think your sorry, your friends would start taking you as a dry kind of person, the person who is no more interested in their company, kind of?
You're saying if you stop being a people pleaser, will they assume
Yeah,
you're
yes,
toxic?
people's pleaser. All of a sudden.
You'll think they'll lose. You think they will think that you have lost interest?
Yeah, yes. Because
No,
we all
I
are conditioned in the similar way, na? We all are conditioned.
uh, possibly yes. See
But
again.
I have started learning the art like now people, most of the people they advise the impactful conversation is always like if you are trying to be brief and coming to the point only, like not elaborating extraordinarily anything.
Yeah. See again, this is something that these are these conversations have a lot of variables, right? Cultural differences, environmental differences. If your whole group, your whole friend circle, like people who meet, if they're all people pleasers, then it can be a problem because all you're doing is just sitting and explaining everything to yourselves, right? So honestly, it would just be not efficient that you're wasting time explaining things when all you can do is just say yes or no for certain things. That's all, right? So if I ask you today, do you want to go bungee jumping, right? And then if I list 10 reasons of why we should do it, it won't change the fact that whether you want to do it or not. Either you're afraid of heights or you're not. So you'll either say, no, no, I cannot do it. I absolutely cannot. I'll get a heart attack, right? I'm that person, by the way. I freak out when I when I look down from from a
Mm.
high point position or whatever. But yeah, I think people can be, but I prefer that people are not. They're direct to the point. Um, I think you just waste a lot of energy if you're trying to be a people pleaser. You're always focused mentally on what can I do to make that person happy? Whereas it should just be, how can I be myself? And if that person likes me for myself, then we're gonna have a healthy friendship or relationship, you know?
That is, you can say your step towards personality shift, I must say. Now, yes, it depends that in what kind of gathering or group you are in. Like if I'm surrounded by my friends, like informal gathering, then I think nothing matters. Whether you talk in a crispy manner, nobody is going to take you as like you are turning towards being a dry person. I think
Hmm.
more the things matter only when you are in an informal setting. Then we are to take care of all these things. Then these things matter a lot.
Okay, let me ask you this. I agree with what you're saying. It doesn't matter in an informal setting. Where does it make a difference in a formal setting? Can you tell me that?
Like suppose informal setting, I can say, suppose I go back to my job days. I'm sitting in the office. I'm at the top of the hierarchy. Like, but at the same time, when I'm out of the office, I'm that kind of person, always justifying, over justifying, just to not to please the person, but to explain my viewpoint. Like, I think too much of that is also not good. But once I'm sitting in the office and I'm having a meeting with my colleagues, with my staff, I think that is an informal setting. At that time, it is a need, a demand of the that moment that I should behave, I should talk in a very crispy manner and to the point only. That is what I mean by informal setting. Now, at
Right.
the same time, when I am into my venture, and because I have this, like my space is inside the premises of some bigger unit where, like you can say, I am the boss of my unit, but at the same time, I'm working in their premises and on and off. We used to have the meetings. Like it's inside a very big hospital, and on and off, I used to have the meetings with the doctors.
Hmm.
So I should be very conscious when I'm joining those meetings that I should be very crispy while speaking, right? That is what
Mm.
I mean in the informal setting. But at
Right.
the same time, like I suppose if I am talking to you, it's a different thing that we are having these sessions off and on, and it's a different kind of environment. If it is to some extent, it is formal, but it's more of informal type, so that I be try to, like you always being on the other side, try to make me comfortable, so that because it's an English speaking practice, so that I can speak out without any hesitation, freely, confidently. It's a partial informal, partial formal. Partial informal in the sense I shouldn't be too start asking you your
Mhm.
personal kind of stuff, like maybe, but being an educated person, I should draw some lines. Everybody needs some privacy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is an art. So you can take any, like, suppose having these kinds of conversations. I started my topic with bringing in mind these kinds of conversations that they were a number of times. Once the session is over, I wind up the session. But after the end of the session, I realize what is the fun of having that long career as an educationist, as an administrator. A number of times I feel even talking to the normal person, normal in the sense somebody who is opposite to me, just 10th pass or 12th pass. But I fail to make it very interesting or creative or wind up in a very finished or polished manner. So you give me some, share some those tips for me also, because otherwise there are a number of settings we can bring on the table, but every setting has a different kind of requirement, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So that thing was there in my mind, that in spite of having a plethora of, like you see the so much in my to my credentials, I don't have this art. Maybe this is a reason that why my sometimes I feel videos don't work. Just sometimes I start thinking this way also.
Okay. So, see, obviously, one of the qualities that a good communicator or a good conversationalist should have is clarity, because you can start a topic. I, I have a couple of friends who do this. They'll start a next topic. Okay. They'll ask you, hey, what do you think of this? And I'm answering it. I'm answering it. And then they'll bring up a why topic. Okay. So they'll say, if I'm saying, hey, a friend of mine just had a kid. He's 3 kgs, and it was a very comfortable pregnancy and delivery. And then they'll suddenly say, "Oh, hospitals are so expensive nowadays when you want to deliver a child." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is nowadays expensive, but I think that you can buy insurance for it. There are other ways to mitigate the expenses, to sort of ask for an itemized bill, so there is accountability for the hospitals, and they can't overcharge you, right?" And then they'll say, "Oh yeah, you know how much the GST amounts have changed nowadays, right?" So what happens is that if, when that clarity is not there, the other person just feels like, is this an interview, right? So have a clarity, ask them one question, talk to it, talk about that topic until both of you feel like you should move on to a next topic. Okay. So when you're actually having a comfortable conversation with somebody, doesn't matter if it's a formal or an informal setting, you'll never run out of things to talk about. Is because if I ask you something random like, hey, when was the last time you rode a bicycle, right? You'll tell me where you rode it, who taught you, what sort of bicycle it was, whether you fell down or not. And let's say you say, I fell down and I grazed my knee or I bruised my knee, and I'll say, oh, that's sad. Have you ever had any serious injuries? Like, because there are a lot of people who've never had a bone broken in their body. There are a lot of people who unfortunately have been through an accident of some sort, right? So this is another way I can ask you a question. Hey, have you ever had any serious injuries, or have you had similar injuries after that incident, right? So when you start getting these points, right, you can follow it along, but not when, like, if I
Hmm.
ask you a question, you answer it, and then I ask you another question, then you answer it, because that's an interview. Don't want that interrogation interview. Don't want to make you feel like, no, no, I'm writing down the information, like I'm asking you because I want to know everything. Another thing should be that when you are having a conversation with someone, Don't use words that they wouldn't understand. You already showed me that you don't do that. You said that I've been talking to someone who's just passed out from fifth grade or like eighth, 10th grade, right? So the fact that you have this filter in your mind that I need to know who I'm talking to, what level they would be comfortable with, I think that is very welcoming. People appreciate that, because if you, I mean, when you're talking to a domestic help, you don't go around saying, yes, the rendezvous is at 8 o'clock. And you don't use these words with them because it will just make them feel inferior and you don't want to be that person. You don't want to sort of make them feel like, yeah, I'm better than you or something like that. We don't want that, right? So know your audience. That is what I usually say. Know your audience. How you're going to talk, what you're going to say, right? What you're going to say is important because if someone's from Delhi, a very common question they get asked is, "How's the food? What's your favorite dish?" Something about pollution if you want to make a joke, right? Uh, but again, you can't ask the same thing to a person from Kerala, right? So you another point is you need to know a lot of things about the world. Okay, if you ever noticed in like any Indian movie, do you watch a lot of Bollywood movies?
Not much, very rarely.
Okay. So I don't know if you've experienced this, but in Bollywood movies, it is considered a good trait for an actor or like the main character to have some sort of general knowledge or to know certain level of languages, right? So let's say I'm going to Kerala with in the movie. I mean, if I'm the main character, I'm going to Kerala with my potential partner, and suddenly I start talking in the language that I hear around me, or somebody says something that is culturally appropriate over there, but we don't understand as outsiders. But I know what they mean, right? Then my potential partner will feel, oh, this person is so uh, like well traveled. That's what they say. Like they've traveled to so many places that they know the cultures and the norms of that place, or they know the language of that place, right? So this is one thing I pride myself on, that whenever somebody's talking about something, either I don't know anything and I'm like, hey, I don't know, but I'm curious. Can you please tell me more? Or I know a little bit, so I can say, hey, I have heard or I've seen the video where someone does this and this is how it works. Am I right? Am I wrong? Right? So even that curiosity that, hey, am I right? Or what should I do in this situation? Right? The curiosity is very important. Okay. So when someone says, this is how you kill a conversation, by the way. If someone says, in Mumbai, the local trains are something that everybody talks about, we go to work, it hosts around 2 million people over there. I've given you some points. I've given you something interesting to talk about. And the other person just goes, oh, that's cool. That is how you show someone you're not interested. Okay. So always have something fun to talk about. Always try to find things that you relate with the other person. And enthusiasm is good, but over enthusiasm is scary. If I'm meeting you in real life, like here, yeah, at Clapping Go, it's different because we're both approaching to learn a skill, right? But if I meet you in real life and I'm just like, oh, hi, it's so nice to meet you, you'll be like, okay, he's trying to rob me, or he's gonna do something, So that's these are a couple of things that I feel are very important. If you want, I can do some research, try to make it like a concise 5 point thing if you like.
Next time when you come, for sure, you are not coming this way with blank mind. There should definitely be certainly in your mind because I know you are an experienced person, at least experienced on this platform. And so far as I could, it's like the out of the sense, I could get the idea that you have lots of information and might be well traveled, but at least knowledgeable person that you are for sure. I
I
have
have a lot
simply
of
the
business
degrees
facts
to
in
my
my mind.
credit, but maybe I live in Punjab. I haven't traveled much, And yeah, I try to learn the things, because if you could get some idea out of my personality, out of these 4 or 5 meetings, that I believe that till your last breath, you are young. If you are young at mind, young at heart, and you have all the rights to learn everything, but you should have that passion for learning, that lust for learning. And that person I am, right?
Yeah.
If somebody reminds me of my age, I don't feel good, because for me, age is just a number. Why don't they understand? A person can be young at 70, and person can be old one at in the mid 20s also. I am
Yeah.
the believer of that fact. Another, we all have got just one life, and I want to experiment with everything. So what I mean to convey is that I have that learning mindset. So, though I don't have the knowledge at the moment, but every second moment, whenever I'm coming across someone, I always try to fetch to gather the information. I am not a reader, like I don't like reading. I couldn't develop this habit. But even then, I try to imbibe out of the conversations also. And so many unspoken words convey a lot, but more than our words.
Hmm.
So that thing I try to imbibe. I understand each and everything. So that's why I'm always insisting on having the conversations with you, not every time changing the tutor, though earlier I used to be. So that you build up a tempo, other person also start reading my mind. So that if not in first conversation, not in second and third, someday, some point, it can go in a very meaningful direction.
It will pay off. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it would pay off. This is the reason. Every time I drop my message when Devyam is free, let me know. So I always try to prefer that. So though my YouTube journey is not paying me much in the sense, like, because if you are an ambitious person, I think in spite of your all efforts, you can't take this thought out of your mind. Like if you are putting in your effort somewhere, you always expect, no, intentionally or unintentionally, you always expect that if I'm doing something, it should come up with something. It shouldn't go futile. So that way, I don't know why those things are not working. That bothers me a lot. But at the same time, Divyam, I want to be a good speaker. I don't spend these 20 or 25 minutes just wasting and making a video for my YouTube.
Hmm.
I had been very scared of this language throughout my student life, university, college time, university time. As a teacher, I could deliver my lecture in English, and everybody would appreciate me. I'm a good speaker, I have a good command. But again, talking and mixing up the language like Hindi, Punjabi, and English, that is altogether a different thing. Like just using my terminology of my medical stream and then jumping up to the regional language is different. Now I want to be a better speaker. So whenever we people are going to have any next session together, you also pinpoint the errors I make. Just don't go with the flow, and just don't try to between the lines. That is not our motive. Also come up with my mistakes also. You
Okay.
take it as a, like, it's a kind of, you are a teacher, I'm your student, and it is your responsibility to take care of my holistic growth now, so far as my
Okay.
journey on this platform is concerned. That
Okay.
is I want
I
from
will
you.
find more interesting and aggressive approaches for you to learn quickly. I'll do
Yes,
that.
yes, yes, do. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So unfortunately, we have run out of time. I have to prepare for another session. So thank you so much. As always, love the energy, love the curiosity. I think that is something we both share, that we are really curious to learn, you
Yeah.
know. So I'm happy about that. Let me see if I can come up with a couple of things to help you, like exercises or tips to change the way you
Yes,
learn or get some new flavor of learning, I would say,
I would
So,
appreciate that. That is what I need. I need it.
okay, awesome.
So
So maybe,
thank you very much,
in
Devyam.
the start of the next session, I'll ask you what you do to learn, how you learn, and then I'll try to give you, like, not better ways, but like at least different ways. So maybe you get information from different sources. Okay,
Sure, definitely.
awesome. Thank you so much. Lovely meeting you as always, and I'm excited for the next session. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day ahead. Bye
Yep.
bye.
You too. Bye bye.